This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, I ask Aaron and Joey about when Instagram got boring.
Woo!
This is what a Joey sounds like.
Doppler effect.
That was the THX sound.
I see. Because I
That was an
can't.
attempt at the THX sound.
I'll just do. Wow. No, I'm sorry. This is what Aaron sounds like. That was halfway between Seinfeld and Home Improvement, and I couldn't get there. I'm sorry. I'm a failure.
And this is what an executive producer and home box office intro sound Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess.
Yo, Jess sounds like a really good episode of Critical Nonsense, but also another podcast that I will thank in the special thanks because I can't remember it right now. But they speak to the sound design team behind the new HBO Sonic branding, and it's very,
I just
very
listened
wonderful.
to this.
Yeah, what was?
I
what was
listened
it?
to that episode.
Is everyone who's listening to this screaming at me like it was this? It was Planet
It was
Money, you
this.
dope.
It was Planet Money. It was definitely Planet Money.
It was. How did
Wait,
I?
I think it was.
It was either Planet Money or
Was
The
it?
Indicator, because my life is only NPR when it's not. Here with
I was
you.
gonna make the comment that like my home life is NPR.
Yes, I mean to be fair, and this is just a complete
Democracy
segue to
Now.
talk about- yes. Well, like when I was growing up, my dad would always have NPR playing in the house, always, and I would complain and I'd be like, "Dad, no one wants to hear this," and he'd be like, "You'll understand someday." And it is the thing that whenever I talk to him, I'm like, "You were a wise man, Father. You were right."
Did you hear that fresh air segment?
I literally listen to Fresh Air every morning. I was listening to the Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz episode, the W. Kamau Bell one. I mean, like, she's just amazing. And I listened to her and Quinta Bronson this morning, and she's like, they're both 4'11", which amazing. Who knew?
Also, talk about dulcet tones.
Oh,
that
yes.
must have been a nice sounding podcast.
It was.
Should we try and do a
Awesome.
podcast at some point where the whole podcast we just try to sound like NPR?
I'm from
reporters,
Ohio.
journalists?
I'm
What are
from
they?
Ohio. That's what I sound like all the time. I can't.
Most of the time.
Like I'd say that my like calm state is Diane Rehm. That's where I'm at.
Hello, welcome to Critical Nonsense. Today we'll be talking with Aaron Powers and Jess Vander about a number of subjects, questions, preferably open-ended, but allowing the conversation to meander. Before we get into this conversation, do we have any housekeeping? I can't keep that going.
It's really
I'm
hard.
getting lost in it. I'm like, where am I? Like in a void.
Subdued and scripted.
Yes.
It just rolls off the tongue.
Yo, that's deep. Housekeeping. We're dead serious. Rate, review, subscribe. Keep the pod alive. Share it with your
Yeah,
friends. Share it with
do
your
it.
mama. Do it.
What are you waiting for?
It's what you waiting for.
You're
Gwen
listening to it
Stefani.
right now. Just open up your phone and just be like, boop,
Beep,
boop,
boop,
beep, boop, beep,
beep, boop,
5 stars.
Which is the sound that
5
phones
stars.
make.
Or if
Very
you're more of
vocal.
a smash 5 stars person, you're like, boop, boop, 5
Yeah.
stars.
It's true. Thanks for all of the
It's a
stars.
little presumptuous, but if you're
Yeah.
listening, I'm assuming you're just like, I love this. With that, Jessica Vander, hit us with the Aaron Powers tepid takes.
Yes, that. The tepid takes of Empires, please.
I think I'm so late to this game, so please pardon this introduction.
Jess Vander's Luddite Corner is brought to you by
By Aaron
Toyotathon.
Powers. Yeah.
It's true. I don't love the word, but it is the most accurate representation of the opposite of extremely online, which is for sure me. I get it. That's true. But just this morning, I had this low-key eureka moment scrolling Instagram and had the thought, God, this is so boring. Just like post after post from not my friends, mostly just small direct-to-consumer brands that all look pretty similar, and then maybe a movie advertisement here and there, and then maybe, if I'm lucky, a pretty standardized format of travel photos or a post from some educational or social justice resource. I'm showing the cards of my bubble. And the feeling of, I've seen this over and over and over again, and I have no idea how I got to a place where I have developed a habit of checking in on this thing when I'm disappointed every time. And I feel like, there have been wins for such a long time of, trying to get rid of Facebook or, people just talking about social media and how it's bad for you. But there feels like I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there was just this moment of like, I don't even like this. Like, I don't even know if I'm enjoying this experience in some, dopamine hitting kind of a way. And so I guess my question for you all is, when did Instagram get so boring, and am I just late to this game?
Eureka's Castle.
I wish that listeners could see the face that I made, which was wonder and confusion. Like straight up happy confusion. How? Please connect our dots. Connect the dots for us.
She said a low-key Eureka, and then all I could think of was Eureka's Castle.
I'm here. Dinner time.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Dinner?
You can't escape that intro. It's intense.
This is Joey and Aaron's 1997 Nickelodeon.
Yes.
Obscure to generationally obscure, because it was just like a few years on Nickelodeon. We're old is what we're saying. Anyways, when did Instagram become boring? My answer when Jess brought this up in like our chat figuring out topics was 4 years ago.
Yeah, you had a very specific date. You're like January 4th. Yes.
Yeah. Years ago.
I think it's so I don't want to derail this, but I think there's an interesting part of the way that Facebook runs its business, and a few concepts that I've encountered recently that I think are interesting and fit with why Instagram is potentially becoming boring. Is there's this concept that a friend, Gautam Ramdurai, I don't think he's going to be listening to this, but if he is, giving credit, shared with me recently, called a strategy tax. And it's the idea of essentially making a product worse for larger organizational strategic objectives. And to me, like, it very much feels like a long, like, slow series of levied strategy taxes from Instagram and Facebook on their products to, like, make more money, be more efficient, appease shareholders, appease brands, things like that have slowly, yes, successfully made them more money, but made the experience of using their products less effective. Back when we, like, on Facebook in like 2008, 2009, when we were doing like a creative project in grad school, we had like a group page for the blog that we had, and we would get a ton of interaction. People like followed it, and it would show up in their feed, and they would interact with it. And at some point, Facebook said, in order for your posts from group pages to show up in someone's feed, you have to pay for it. And all of a sudden, it was just like, we like no longer had ways to like interact with our fans unless they came directly to it. And this feels really similar. Like, it's oriented towards, all of these brands showing up in your feed, like you're saying. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, didn't I come here to like follow my friends from high school? Like, where are my friends, and why am I seeing all these World Star videos? That's very different than your feed, Jess. I'm assuming World Star is not in your feed. But I don't know, Aaron, what do you think? Like,
I mean, what strikes me, because I'm also, I'm more like troglodytic than Ludditic, if we could pretend that Ludditical. Ledidical.
Yeah.
Let it. So I'm also not a part of the social media sphere. Like I just don't. I actually am even. I'm off Facebook, but I do have a page, and I am every once in a while getting an email that's like, so and so posted this, and I'm like, this is why I'm not there. I don't care that person posted something.
You haven't been back in a while. Do you want to see a post from random person that you didn't know well in high school?
Yes. And then it's not even the actual post. It just says that person posted something. And I'm like, that is not my hook, y'all. And so in any case, being a part of this sort of, I consider myself a part of the real world vagabonds. I will not engage too deeply in this social media silliness.
The real world vagabond.
Dude, I do spend time on Instagram though, and I think that what got me was Reels started very much just TikToking me. They knew what I was interested in. They knew that it didn't matter if it was going to be like motivational content of any kind that would be anywhere in the Viola Davis orbit, or it would have anything to do with a dog, or third is anything to do with beautiful places around the world. You've got my time. And I'm going to scroll, and I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm just going to have the same button like overmashed, and I'm just going to be like, yep, I like that. I still like that too. Cool, I like that. My brain is like, it gets to that place where it just turns into gray matter, and it's just like, and when I say gray matter, I mean like gray wool, gray yarn, like the base yarn that you make before you dye it to turn it into a sweater. That's what my brain turns into after a few swipes. And then I do the 10 swipe rule. As soon as I catch myself, I say, you've got 10 more swipes. And then after I swipe 10 times, I'm done because I just have to break the loop.
What's in the Viola Davis orbit? Is it like is Octavia Spencer in the Viola Davis orbit, or is it more of like a vibe?
No, it's very vibical. It's very biblical. I'm gonna keep on trying to make
Leviticus and
Ledidical. No, Ledidical and biblical.
Ledidical.
Yeah. No, so Viola Davis's Insta is it's one part black joy, it's one part self-care and self-love. And I guess it's actually maybe it's just those two things. It's really just those two things. And like the content that she posts like always makes me feel a little bit better. Period. And I've followed some of the people that she brings up, and what I realized is that like one way that Instagram became unboring for me was to have to be a little bit more thoughtful about what I wanted from it as opposed to letting it guide me. And so when I did start not necessarily engaging with people, because you ain't gonna see me posting anywhere, I would actively follow a few people that were tendrils from others, because I was like, you know what? I need positive words of affirmation to come from somewhere. Like I get them from my husband. Cool. I want them to come from my phone, because I probably spend more time staring at my phone than I do my husband, which is very sad.
Sorry, Branch.
Sorry, Branch. I love you. But yeah, that like, I think that this doesn't even really answer your question. It just sort of reifies the fact that I also see that it is boring. And the only way that I have found a way to make it a useful utility was to invest like 5% or 2% into it of my energy. And then I got enough out of it to make a little bit of time worthwhile. But no more than, like I said, like total 20 swipes a day. Anything outside of that, I'm gonna go play spelling bee. Like it's just better. It's just better. By the way, if you haven't done spelling bee today, yo, they're evil. The one today is evil. I'm not gonna give away any words, but that U in the middle, like, or it's a D in the middle, maybe.
Oh, okay. Spoiler!
Well, it's just the middle. That's not the word. That's not the word. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting too, the dynamic of being a creator on these platforms, even insofar as just like posting, right? Like, you know, Jess, you were talking about like, I'm not getting that like dopamine hit anymore, or I'm getting like a cheap one, right? And you're, as far as I know, more of like a lurker on the platform, right? In the way that Aaron was talking about, like you're viewing content but not creating any content, even if it's just like photos of dogs or whatever. And that's a different dynamic, right? Like you're not getting hit with likes the whole time to be like, people are giving me like positive affirmation about, my dog picture or whatever. So that feels like a different dynamic. And because the platforms have oriented away from sort of everyday people or you interacting with your friends towards you interacting with brands. And, I think it feels in some way like you have a little bit more control maybe on your feed with some other platforms than you do on Instagram, or at least I felt that way. Where if I followed any brand or like any, content like media company or something like that, like my whole feed just became them, and I'd be like, I can't follow you anymore because I'll never see anyone. And so that pushing people away from creating their own posts or like getting responses to their own posts also sort of like upends some of that dynamic that made it compelling, I think.
Oh, you're both just bringing around the revelation that it really depends on why you're going to the gram. And actually, I never wanted really to go to the gram in the first place. What I really wanted was this app called Path, which was a small circle social media program app. What would you call that?
Is it Japanese or is it South Korean? Path?
No, it had like a huge boom in the Pacific Islands, I think. But it was the way that me and my inner circle kept in touch and tabs on each other without having to converse. It's just like, hey, this is updates of my life. And I think that more and more that for a time, Instagram was maybe the closest thing after, once it was Snapchat, once it was Facebook. There's just like some evolution of where the mass of people are. And I think what I'm missing is that thing doesn't exist for me. And while there's other things like the affirmation and black joy and dog energy that Erin seeks, or maybe nothing appeals to you, Joey, I think I'm also just coming to the conclusion of like, oh wow, I'm just like here in this quiet ghost town of a thing that I'm not getting the thing that I came here for. So where do I go? Just a wandering soul.
Well, I mean, I'm still like highly social, and the energy that I was putting into interacting with people in those other places it exists right in like dark communications or whatever that they spoke about before, right? Like moving it into text messaging groups and things like that. And like both iMessage and, Google's equivalents and other platforms' equivalents have really upgraded what they're capable of doing and sort of the interactions that you can have in those. And so I'll follow Twitter for news and just sort of like being abreast of culture. And then, but like my social interactions are just happening in like dark spaces that aren't public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even though this was the quickest entree to it, this might take us to Jess's wrap-up corner.
Maybe Instagram got boring for all of you listeners at different points already. Maybe it hasn't happened to you yet because you're already getting what you need. But I might just be reaching my tipping point, and I need to find myself probably not corners of the internet like you, Joey, and maybe I don't know what the next thing is for me, but I think this is sort of a moment, a turning point.
Jess, well, I hope for you that what's next is an internet that you can taste or smell, because then all bets are off. Yeah, that's what you
scratch and sniff.
Yes.
Articles.
That's it.
Welcome to the smelly metaverse.
The Smelliverse.
The Smelliverse. That's it.
Next time on Critical Nonsense.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by TIBB Cref. It's Not TI, the other one that isn't actually a sponsor.
We'd like to thank executive producer and breath of fresh air, Jess Vander.
I'd also like to thank our wonderful sound engineer, Alex Contel. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'd like to thank programming coordinator and man about town, Leslie Otilio Jacobs.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'd also like to thank Sarah Gilbert and Les Jacobs. What are you guys doing? Oh yeah, you make this whole thing happen. Thanks. Oh, and Nora Mestrich. Oh, Nora's in the building. All right, cool. Thanks you too, Nora. Awesome.
And as always, a plethora of gratitude, sans gratitude to you, Alain Sylvain. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, that was Alanis Morissette as a guest. That's what that was.
Special thanks.
Thank you, innocence.
Yes.
Special thanks to Joey for your interpretation of sounding like NPR, which is just ASMR.
Yes.
ASNPR.
ASMPR. And to Aaron for all of the incredible new vocabulary from this episode. We got lidical, troglodytical, biblical.
Y'all get biblical.
At least
Biblical.
2 of those are words.
Yes. Yes. English is the silly putty with which you may create masterful things. So please go create.
Which you may get stuck into your shag carpet.
Yes. Don't vacuum it. It'll screw up your vacuum too.
Peanut butter. No
Okay.
thank you, peanut butter.
May your peanut butters be jelly. Bye, y'all.
Smooth, at least.
Democracy now.
Could they be chunky? Or
Fit.
smooth.
Chunky monkey later.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That was
Okay.
fun.
Bye.
Bye, friends.
We're doing it like NPR.